G'day ladies and gentlemen, my name's Isaac Butterfield and this is Billboard Chris.
What's up everyone, I'm Billboard Chris. It's New Year's Eve. I'm out on the streets of Vancouver, BC, having one conversation at a time about the greatest child abuse scandal in the history of modern medicine.
It's just sad because you know they will regret, a lot of them will regret it, and they do already.
Of course, there's no such thing as being born in the wrong body.
Would you not call your having the whole idea of calling people men and women, is that not a gender ideology? Is not the separation of that itself a gender ideology, and in that case, are you a hypocrite?
Yeah, I guess I'm a hypocrite. Yeah.
That's it. That's all.
Right.
I just wanted to double check.
Thanks very much.
I'm here alone
Join
the
us.
entire time. You can shit. Go fuck yourself.
I'm sorry, what's your problem?
Say go fuck yourself.
Why do you want to sterilize kids, man?
I'm not playing around.
I'm not playing either.
You may never have heard of this gentleman, but you may have seen him. You see, he does something absolutely outrageous, absolutely violent and disgusting and despicable. This man from Canada stands out in the streets and asks people questions. Oh, I know, it's horrifying. Well, actually, he doesn't even ask a question. He just stands there with a sign and some people decide to come over and talk to him and others don't. You see, Billboard Chris has been around for a number of years now and he has had a lot of interesting conversations with people on the street. He has opinions that do not run in line with the mainstream view. And I know when you say things like the mainstream view, people stop listening, but this is fucking important, ladies and gents. Billboard Chris has been arrested this week for standing in the street posing an offensive, depending on who you are, question. You see, he's in Australia right now because he's taking our government to court. This Canadian's come here to take our government to court. He's actually taking them to court alongside Elon Musk on behalf of X. And all because Billboard Chris decided to tweet something about a person who happens to be a transgender person, and Australia's Karen, the Safety Commissioner, our Lord and Saviour, our protector, decided that he was breaking some Australian laws and they banned Australians from being able to see it. Anyway, so he's in Australia and he decides to kill a bit of time by heading out in the streets of Brisbane, which is located here in Queensland, Australia, about 8 hours north of Sydney. He asked a question. He posed this question for debate amongst people to see who agreed with him, who disagreed with him, and perhaps they could have a conversation. That's what Chris does. Well, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, the police weren't up for conversation. They weren't up for debate. In fact, council workers, people who work for the people, much like the police, they were the first ones to come across him and decide that he was breaking the rules of Brisbane. Let's see what happened.
Okay.
Relevant legislation in which I've issued the ticket.
Okay, so we'll start here. Now, the gentleman with the large stomach, that man is, I think he's from the council. He's basically a parking officer. And he's come over to Chris because he's wearing this sign. Children can't consent to puberty blockers. And this is the conversation all about young children taking puberty blockers. Now, this all has to do with trans healthcare, which is a very profitable business. And the younger you get people involved in that, the more money corporations make. I'm sorry, but that is just the absolute truth. And if you think that they wouldn't do that, then you're an idiot. You're a fool. You don't understand anything about the history of pharmacology. You know, surely you know what Big Pharma does. Anyway, so he's coming out and he's saying that he doesn't think that children can consent to the changes that it would do to their bodies, both the ones they expect and the changes they don't expect. Now, this dude has come over after Chris has been standing here for some time in the middle of a mall, right? A public area where people spend time every single day. You walk through there, you see buskers, you see homeless people sleeping, you see people riding skateboards, riding bikes, walking their dog, whatever. And he says that Chris cannot stand there. Why? Is it because he's asking a question? Where is Chris's free speech here? He may not be from my country, Australia, but surely his freedoms are protected here.
Okay, so I've been told that my prohibited activity is that I'm obstructing or unreasonably disturbing any person lawfully using a mall. I have absolutely done no such thing. I was standing quietly.
Now, in the previous clips, you can see Chris is just sort of standing there, taking up what? A square meter of room, a square foot of room, like very little room. He's not really getting into anyone's way. He's not engaging in a way that people would think is angry or violent, or he's not scaring anyone. He's not doing anything. He's literally just standing there. He's one of the most unassuming dudes I've ever seen. He's just standing there. He's just a bald dude standing in the streets with sunglasses on, and he's got a big sandwich board on his front. All right? The only reason you could ever say that he is impeding in people's day, or impeding upon people's day rather, is because of the conversation that he is starting. So someone must have complained here.
I was standing quietly.
Cool, you should get a fucking job and, move on with your life,
Oh,
Thank you very much.
fucking-
Appreciate it.
How's that? A big fucking hero just turned up. Let's have a look who this is. Let's zoom in on him. You look like a fuckwit, mate. You look like an absolute fuckwit. And you would. I guarantee this guy has never looked into anything to do with puberty blockers. All his mates that sit around his university, they all say the same thing. They all believe the same thing. There's no nuance. There's no discussion. They just breathe and live upon each other's cultish mindset. That dude, that fucking scraggy looking, that fucking bloke is the picture perfect example of what is wrong with Western society. Ladies and gentlemen, before we go any further, if you drink coffee and you care about supporting small business, I need you to listen up. I need to talk about our amazing sponsor today, Blackout Coffee. This isn't your average weak corporate coffee brand. This is Blackout Coffee, roasted right in the heart of the beautiful United States of America. They stand for freedom, the troops, hard work, and the Second Amendment. They're good people, ladies and gentlemen. They got everything from whole beans and ground coffee to convenient pods and even instant coffee. There's two standouts on my watch. The Morning Reaper. Okay, I've got a young child. I need a big kick up the old backside in the morning to get me going. Let me tell you that. A smooth yet bold medium roast to start your day. But if you like it even stronger than that, you can get the Brutal Awakening. Yes, that's a fantastic pun. I'm a big fan. Their darkest roast that is loaded with caffeine. And here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. Head to blackoutcoffee.com/butter right now to get 20% off your first order. Make sure you use the code BUTTER at checkout, ladies and gents. Don't miss out on that discount. And ditch the woke coffee brands, ladies and gents, and get your day started with Blackout Coffee.
Example of
I
things
have
that
not
obstruct
done this.
users of the mall. This is because you're in this area.
So this guy that
bro.
just came up to harass me, he's using that as an example of me
So-
obstructing people.
The next step from here
Yeah.
is that we can issue an oral compliance direction, which under our local
Okay, so
laws,
there, if you didn't catch that, the parking officer said that is an example of him impeding people's day. Well, no, old mate made a beeline for him and headed over to him to have a conversation. Well, not have a conversation, to basically yell at him, to say mean things to him. That is not getting in anyone's way. That isn't impeding anything. This is Chris, this dude, just some random dude, having a conversation. Now, just because Chris has a differing opinion than maybe you or maybe me or whoever, right? And just because Chris is out there saying it doesn't mean that he should be stopped. Do we stop people who want to spread the word about God who are in the streets? Do we stop people because they wear the wrong colored jersey, or they support the wrong team, or they're the wrong religion? No. It just so happens that if you break the rules of speech in this country, and by that I mean you say the wrong things, you say the things that don't fit the standard that is currently our status quo, then you will be punished by people who are employed by taxpayers like me and like you. And that is absolutely authoritarian. It is disgusting, and fuck them to the moon. Whoever is in charge of the people that arrested Chris this day, fuck them. That is ridiculous. And I guarantee the police officers didn't want to do this shit. I hope they didn't. I certainly hope they didn't. I hope this dude, the guy who's coming over from the council in the first place, I hope he didn't want to do it, but he has. All right. He's enforced a law that is ridiculous.
is that we can issue an oral compliance direction, which under our local laws means that you have to cease the activity and possibly move on from the area. All right?
I'm not obstructing or unreasonably disturbing anyone.
He's not. he's just not.
So once I move on with the oral compliance direction, this is what it looks like. All right.
But who are you, mate? Who are you to say this?
First time. Really.
I'm very new.
No one's
So
ever
he's
had
never
a
done
sign on this public street before, I guess.
They have actually, but
And how come
most
you didn't
people don't
interrupt
read
them?
this one.
How
Most
come you
people
didn't?
read this one.
Oh, really? Yeah. So, did we witness that just now, officer?
What did he say? I can't quite hear what he said, but yeah, why haven't you interrupted other people with signs?
That man came up to me to harass me. He's citing that he's citing that as an example of me obstructing someone. Did that look like obstruction to you when that man came up to harass me?
All right, so
Yeah.
Like this is bogus fucking laws. Like it's simple as that. Who are these? Like I know they're the police and stuff like that, but are you telling me that this is in Queensland, right? In Brisbane, where is currently the crime capital of Australia, particularly youth crime. That's their biggest problem there. That's what won the last dude the election there. You're telling me that this is what the police are doing? This is what they're spending their time doing? Are you saying that there's nothing else they could be doing this day? Fuck me, right?
under the council land and public land and council assets local law 2014, section 59, I am now officially requesting you to stop what you are doing and leave the area.
What is he doing? He is standing there with a fuck me.
For a period of 24 hours. All right, failure to comply with that now may involve the police. All right, and they are
It may involve the police. There's fucking 4 of them standing there.
authorised, assisting us as authorised officers under the City of Brisbane Act 2010
To beat the shit out of you. They're gonna fuck you up, Chris.
to remove you from the area.
All right.
All right.
Well, I have not obstructed anyone. So
So at this point,
this is
I'm requesting you to cease and
fault.
move on from the area.
Okay, so we're at the point where Chris has just said, listen, I'm not going to move on. And now the police become involved. I think this is what that NWA song was about when they were trying to fight back against police and moving on YouTubers from public areas with signs. Very powerful stuff.
Okay, so are you going to leave the area?
I'm not leaving.
Okay. So
That's Australian police versus American police. Are you going to leave the area, please, in Australia? In America, it's just fucking Glock out immediately. Well, if he was darker, obviously.
as you've been directed, I'm acting Sergeant Jill Shangle from Brisbane City Police Station, so you've been directed that you need to leave, well, stop doing what you're doing because you're currently obstructing the mall area, which has its laws that do not permit this activity.
Oh, does it? Does the mall have laws?
Okay, so we would now require you to leave.
Why does a mall's law override someone's ability to speak freely? What if this was and I know some people won't be like, well, he's spreading hate or whatever. What if this was the other way around? What if we were in a really we had a really right-wing government, right? Really like fascist government, and we were in the mall and we were saying this is bad, you shouldn't be fascist, etc., etc. And you had that sign on and they moved you on because you're not allowed to speak like that. You'd have the shits, right? You got to see why free speech isn't just something that affects people who aren't super left-leaning. Like, you got to understand that this free speech stuff, this is not just me whinging about it because maybe my political beliefs over the past 10 years have started to skew a little bit more tiny right-leaning, and I think most people's have, because anyone on the left is just a fucking nutbag currently these days anyway, which is a shame because there's a lot of left-wing policies that I really like, socialist healthcare, all that type of stuff. But what I'm trying to say is surely you know within your own mind that free speech is a good thing, being able to speak freely and have conversations, particularly when you can't have these conversations online in many parts of the world, right? In particular here in Australia. You will have the E-Safety Commissioner trying to shut you down because you're not allowed to have these conversations. Who are these people who are telling us what we can and cannot do? No one's being hurt by this. We're not screaming fire in a crowded theatre. We're having conversation, and particularly conversations about contentious topics of which there isn't a one particular answer that is the absolute truth. We are having conversations to find that truth. And when you shut one person's truth down or what they believe down, I should say what they believe, not their truth, because I fucking hate it when people say that's my truth. Fuck off. All right? What they believe or what they have considered or what they've done a study and they've found out new information. You can't just shut that down because it goes against the narrative that you espouse. Fuck that.
So we would now require you to leave the area. Okay? Are you going to
Okay.
leave the area?
So I've read the law.
Why is he surrounded by
And
police?
I'm being told that I was obstructing people from their movement, which is not true.
Not true at all.
And I'm not disturbing anyone. I stand quietly, having conversations with people who approach me. And so I don't
All right,
believe
so
I'm in
it's been
violation of
determined
that.
You are obstructing people, okay? So at this
How am I obstructing people?
It's been explained to you, okay?
Oh, that
So
was a lie, but
do you
yeah.
want to grab your things and leave?
No, I'm not leaving.
Okay.
So
we now
Alright,
have
so-
the power.
This happened to him in Melbourne a couple of days later.
Need to know, do you have a permit to be here and do this?
So, no, I do not have a permit to be here.
I'm afraid
I've done this before, and as far as I'm aware, having conversations is still allowed. That's still a legal activity in Australia.
Why are we are starting to be seen in Australia as this fucking laughing stock. Like, we are being looked at like we are mad. Like, we can't do anything. People talk, like, I know a lot of Americans. A lot of people talk a lot of shit about this country and the freedoms that we just don't have. The fact that freedom of speech isn't even included in our constitution is hilarious, and there should be a referendum on that tomorrow, which should be put into absolute law in this country that our freedom of speech is protected above all else. But I don't think that will ever happen. No politician has the balls to do that. In fact, both political parties here in Australia have, over the past half a decade or so, tried to really attack our freedoms and what we can and can't say, particularly online. And that is horrific, and that is an absolute shame upon our country. Like, it shouldn't be like that at all. And we're about to have an election, and I'm sitting here going, well, I fucking hate everyone. This is fucked.
So if I had
don't want to keep going around in circles.
if I had a
So
sign
I'm gonna
that
give you
said
a-
Australia is a magnificent country and that offended somebody, would then I also be in violation of that law?
They're about to say something that's really important.
I'm not going to play silly buggers with you. You've been
Not
told-
about
So it's
silly
only
buggers.
because of this message
Fucking
that
hell.
I'm being arrested here.
Because how do you know
Because
if
all
it's-
sorts of
how do
people have
you
been here
know
with
if
signs
it's
and he's
never
come
had to deal with
for or
this.
against that sign? You have no
Ready?
idea. He's doing his job. We're doing our job. It's got nothing to do with what you're.
He's doing his job. We're doing our job. And that separation between the laws that you are enforcing and what we should be enforcing in this country is the problem. Same thing happened in COVID. And I'm not saying this about these particular officers at all. But the same thing happened in Nazi Germany. People just did what they were told. And the more that you get told what to do and you listen without question, the worse society becomes. Chris eventually gets led away.
Your own phone, great.
All
I
right.
don't have to touch your things, and that works.
I'm being arrested.
Which is just absolutely crazy. He was released later on without charge, so they were just fucking with him. Mate, we need to protect people like him and anyone who's on any side of the political spectrum or any argument. They need to be able to speak freely. And you shouldn't be able to shut them down just because you disagree with them. You should be able to converse with them, challenge them, debate them, but not just silence them because you disagree. That is a show that your argument is weak. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd love to know what you think. Let me know in the comment section down below. All the best to Billboard Chris. And ladies and gentlemen, there'll be another video tomorrow, so make sure you subscribe. I'll see you next time. Tout le revoir. Bye-bye.